My future classroom. This presentation is about things that I have learned in this class and what I plan to implement in the future. So, for the arrangement of my classroom, I didn't really realize how important this was until taking this class, and I'd noticed the posters that my teachers had up, but I didn't realize that it had such an effect. So, one of the things I've decided from this course is I think that a lot of times students get bored with learning, and watching the high schoolers in my observations, I noticed this as well. So, there are several different ways to organize desks, and in my classroom, I'm going to vary that based on change it each unit we go through. I'm going to have desks in rows and then in groups when we're doing group projects, because I think that that's a good way to kind of mix things up and to keep things different and hopefully to help students stay engaged. I'm also going to assign this seating because, as mentioned in one of Harry Wong's lectures, the problem students will usually tend to sit together if they're allowed to choose where they sit. In my classroom, there will also be class and homework posted in the same spot every day so that students know where to look, so they know what we will be doing for the day, and they know what homework they will need to do. Also, for the posters that I have hanging around my room, one of the things I really thought was interesting was that when kids aren't paying attention, their eyes will wander and they'll look around the classroom. And so one of the cool things that I thought would be fun to hang up in my classroom is I'm going to be an English teacher. So I thought it would be cool to put up posters of words with definitions, which could be student made, and that may be a little bit too young for high school students, but I think that would be interesting if they picked a word or several words they'd like to learn throughout the year and we put those posters on the wall, because English is largely about vocabulary. And interesting facts, just kind of random tidbits that they can look, so that at least if they're not paying attention, they'll be learning something. Student work, one of my teachers in high school, I was inspired by this. He had a gems from our writers board where he would hang good quotes from people's essays that they had written. If I were to do this, though, I don't think I would put names, because a lot of the times that it just kind of, because not everyone had work featured up there, and sometimes students got a little caught up in so and so was up here several times. So if I did that, I probably wouldn't include names. And then, as Harry Wong said, I would put my teaching credentials up there so that students know that I'm qualified to do my job. Also, natural lighting. This isn't really from anything I've learned in the teaching classes I've had, but I think that I personally love natural lighting and it helps me focus and stay more engaged. And so if my classroom has windows, I'm going to try to keep the blinds open and just keep it friendly. And studies actually have proven that natural lighting is better for focusing. And there will be a focal point of my classroom, which typically it's probably going to be a board of some sort, but that's the arrangement for my classroom. For procedures, this is probably the biggest thing I've learned from this class particularly was Harry Wong's emphasis on procedures, and how he said that the best way to get students to be responsible is through having them do procedures. And I think that that is very true. And in the classrooms I watched, well, I'm mainly drawing on the ones from high school, but one of the teachers didn't really have a specific starting class procedure. And as a result, it took a long time to get things going. And procedures just make things easier for the teacher and for the students. So I would have a procedure for the start of class, and I would do bell work, sort of like you come in, it's on the board, you know what you're supposed to be doing, it's quiet, and then I can take roll during that time. An end of class routine, which would just be me dismissing the class, not the bell dismissing them, like Harry Wong said, because that establishes that I am in charge of the class, I am in charge of your learning. A procedure for tests. One of my high school teachers, actually, he had a procedure for tests that I liked. You came in the class, you set your test on the paper, and then he would come around to collect them and give you a cookie every time you finished your test or your essay. So that was kind of cool. Also, a procedure for turning in assignments, using the bathroom, and a procedure for me to get my class's attention. And with high schoolers, I most likely would probably just have a cue word, or maybe like clap my hands twice or something like that. And one of the things also that I've learned in my other teaching classes as well is that it really is up to you and what you think works best. So all of these things are subject to vary as I figure out what I think would work best. But I think that procedures are very important, and I plan to implement those in my future classroom. For rules and discipline, Harry Wong said that it's best to not use many rules, as did Professor Jensen in his lecture. And so I think that one of the biggest problems in high school is cell phones. And some teachers say that, yes, you can use this to look up good things, but that's hard to regulate, and more often than not, they can look up these things on computers if they're available, or ask a teacher or someone. So I just, in my future classroom, I believe that there will be no cell phones, and for the corresponding action to this, if someone uses a cell phone, I'll just take it and put it on my desk for the remainder of class. Because in high schoolers, which is what I'm planning on teaching, that is the major distraction that most have. Also, for late assignments, I don't want students to give up hope after they turn in assignments, because in my other class, we talked about the most important thing is to get students motivated to learn, because if you just get them solely motivated by assignments, it's not as useful as getting them motivated to learn. And so I want students to still complete their assignments, but there needs to be a deduction if it's turned in late so that they will turn it on time. So the first day an assignment is late, there will be a deduction of 20% of their grade that they would have gotten, and every day after that results in 10% more, and then it will stop at a 30% so that students can still turn it in. And once again, this can change as I decide what works and what doesn't work. Also, there will be point deductions for absences and tardies, and of course, if they come in and give me a good excuse, a good reason, maybe signed by a parent, then that's okay, and I won't deduct for sports absences or things like that. But I think that in order to be here on class, in order to learn, you need to be there. And then the class can decide maybe 2 or 3, because we don't want too many rules, 2 or 3 other rules, maybe regarding food, because that's an issue with high school students and things like that, so that they feel that they are also in control of their learning. For teaching methods, in this class and in the other class and in my observations, and when I say other class, I mean EDCI 1000 with Dr. Maddie, it's that students learn in several different ways. Each student is different. And so I'm going to teach in different ways. And it's not going to be like kind of here, there, and scattered, but it's still going to be organized. But we're going to do different projects that several different types so that kids can learn in a way that best suits them, and then maybe they can figure it out what works best for them, so in the future they'll know that. So we'll include like group work, maybe a project where you design a map or something like that, so that there's things for the visual learner, the oral learner, and things like that. So I will just vary the way I present the information for the different kids. One of the things that I took away from my other class was the main important thing that you can do is make the students interested in learning, as I've already mentioned. And so I would focus on that in my teaching, making sure that all the students are engaged, making it interesting, not just going through the basics. And I want to involve all the students so that they can get excited and want to pay attention. I'm going to be consistent with how I handle situations so that students see me as strong and not that they can kind of fudge things or turn in, I will be consistent with my discipline and things like that. And I will communicate a lot with the students and parents and make sure that they know that I am open to them and they can come and talk to me. And in the lectures, some of the lectures that we've had for this class about making a good community in your classroom and communicating with parents and students, I want to make sure that the students see me as someone, not a friend, because you're a teacher and that kind of fudges the line between professionalism and maybe I've seen teachers like that and it just causes trouble. So, I mean, while I still want to be seen as their friend, I'm primarily a teacher and an adult. But I will go and support their games. I will ask them how their weekends were when they come in. We will have class discussions, and in English that's going to happen quite a bit. And I will make sure that they know that I value their opinion and I value them as a student. If they miss class, I'll ask them where they were. I will help them. I will be an advocate for their learning and make sure that they know that and that their parents know that. Here are the sources listed where I got my information. Mainly I drew from this class and the notes that I took, including Harry Wong's lectures, and also I took from some things I've learned in the past through my experience, because I'm a recent graduate, so my high school experience is still pretty fresh on my mind, so I was able to remember some things that worked and didn't work for me. And then also from my other teaching class that I had the opportunity of taking this semester, and through videos that we watched and things that we learned about students. And that is my plan for my future classroom.